Hello again. Well, I'm back. Let me show you a couple of things before we get started, but thanks for all your comments. They really do help. It's been interesting seeing the opinions that are floating around. Come on. Well, the first thing was to do with, this is Pico and this is Hornby, and why is it that the Pico track sticks down better than the Hornby stuff? Well, up there, I thought it was something to do with the expansion or whatever, because it all does move around a little bit. And it's not very well ballasted up there, honestly. There's big gaps under it. But that would be true here too. Can you see that? I mean, I can barely reach over there, let alone work properly. In fact, there's no ballast there, look. But at normal viewing distances, it's only me and you that get to see it. And you really can't see, okay, there's a bald patch there. But look. There's a hill in the way, and there used to be one there, remember? So what is it? Well, one of you came up with the solution. I thought, I wonder if they're right. This is the underside of the Hornby track, and look how shiny it is. It's shiny and smooth. There are a couple of little holes there, you see, but there's precious little space in between the webbing or the sleepers and the rails. Here's the Pico stuff. See, indents, some of the sleepers are hollow. Every sleeper has a hole in it. There's gaps right up to the rail. And then, of course, when you turn it sideways, look. And if you look in there, there's a piece of ballast just stuck in there. I'll dig that out before we reuse it. So what's happening is that when you push it this way up and pour glue all over it, it gets in underneath the rails and over the sleepers, so it holds it all in place. With the Hornby stuff, it can't do that. So unless you've actually got glue up on top of the sleepers, which I haven't, then the only way this glues down is through the few holes there are. One or two places where there isn't webbing, and the glue stickiness to the plastic itself. Now remember, all I've done is lifted this track, and you see I'm wiping glue off there with my nail. It just comes right off. But if we go along, we should, yeah, look at that, you see. There's a little bit of ballast still stuck in there. There's another piece over there, another piece in there, look. And so, and in between those sleepers, do you see it? The glue and the stones, and there's another one on top of the rail, and then more of it in between the webbing and the rail. And again, and then if we look on with the bigger picture, do you see here, there's a piece stuck underneath the webbing, between the webbing and the rail. Let me dig that out with this pin, and you'll see what I mean. I'm having to, it's coming out easily, but it is stuck in underneath that webbing. See there, look, see? So that's what's doing it. So we've learned something. This piece of track was laying on the floor. Remember, I took it up and laid it down there, and it wasn't straight or anything. Look at it now, look. Big gap, and it won't bend. Let me see if I can actually flex it. It's flexi track, but it won't flex. Now, I'm going to do something a little unusual. I'm going to hold it in front of the camera and try and... You hear it clicking? There we go. Now it's flexing. And what's happening is that the glue is falling out on the board here as I wiggle. So the glue has reset, keeping some of the ballast with it. So you can certainly use this track again, but you'd want to give it a good old wiggle around to crack up the webbing. And I'll show you in a second here. Let me just level that off. Yeah. But look at all the glue. That's right where I was working. Look at all the glue and bits of ballast that have come out of it. So then, what did we just learn? We learned that, I bet it wasn't by design, but we learned that the Pico track sticks better than Hornby track. I know Sam's Trains just ordered a whole bunch of Hornby track. I've got nothing against Hornby track. I think it's just fine. But, and this stuff is more expensive. This is Pt.5, of course. But there's a reason for using it. I finally found one. It glues down better without using track pins. Now then, the second thing we learned is move the trains out of the way before you do stupid. And I've still got bits of glue and ballast all over these trains. I definitely didn't expect that to happen. I've just dropped a rail down there too. It fell down and now I can't find it. It's down there somewhere. So that's frustrating. It fell off the top there. Now, a number of you didn't expect me to get the trains back up and running in one session. It was rather a long session. I broke it up into a couple of videos about a week ago. But yeah, I mean, we're not having the trains stop for a long time. What we do have to do now is figure out where that underground station is going to end up. Here's why it really can't go there. There's a board going right across here somewhere and with a freight yard on top of it. Now, when I say freight yard, I mean a couple of sidings suitable for loading baggage and ferry vans and so on. So nothing major, but certainly a warehouse and all of that good stuff. Now, in the grand scheme of things, here is the logical place to cut, since there's a little bit of a wobble going on there. So that would all go. What could we do to get around that corner quicker? Well, you could bring those tracks out over here quicker. I don't mind doing that. Do you see how I've cut back to here on the lower level? And a number of you thought I should have gone back to here and started the curve earlier. Well, I didn't. I started there, made the radius much greater. And so instead of it coming around here and ending up more or less where that track is, which is what used to happen, it moved all the way back there and swung over here. Well, if we do that on the top, what would happen is that it would come over here, so roughly where my finger point is, over the top of the lower tracks there, but then be on the inside here. So now you've got tracks at a high level here, dropping down there and back up again. So these tracks in a cutting, either man-made, well, of course it's man-made, but with bricks on either side or dirt on either side. Rather lovely, because now you can see them. Now these have got to join up with those. So how do we do that? Well, we can do exactly the same thing. We can come back to here, and well, there's the ideal place for me, but we can cut the track. We can start there and start swinging. We've got to gain some height because that is not high enough to get over there. It'll be really close. By the time it gets to the point here, it needs to be up a bit. But then it's coming around here, but because of the radius, it's going to be out here somewhere before it can swing back over this way. So that's why do that? That's going to be kind of interesting. So just as the lower level went out and back, it didn't swing out this way again, though. That's the only thing. So why not force it all into the background and put the freight yard in the foreground? Well, because I want the freight yard to be up against the wall. We've got some low relief scratch built buildings I want to use. And I want to show that you can go on the outside of the 8x4 loop instead of on the inside. That's interesting. What's going on there? See, I've been distracted. Well, what do you know? Oh, I know what that is. This is leftover flooring, under floor flooring. And this is the backing, the spongy backing. I think I took all that off on the viaduct. Interesting. So yes, we want to get over here quickly to leave space over there. This end, the problem we're going to have is getting away from the wall as quickly as we can. Now, all of this can be covered up. I don't mind that. kind of fun to have a little sneaky out and back in again. It's the underground down there mostly. And of course the underground trains are lower, but I don't want to eliminate the possibility of the EMUs coming down this way. We can reconfigure the track plan down there. That goes off to Fiddle Yard. I've taken the point out of there already. There used to be one in there that gave another siding. That's already gone. We'll ease this a little bit to make it a little bit less junky. But it works. I mean, all of that has been working, so why mess with it? 2 lines that go into the platforms. So really, we can steer them anyway and leave all of the point work alone. But if we can get the station over there, so down here where that piece of track is, so really just turning those this way a little bit, I think we'll gain some space at the back. The majority of the problem is, of course, you want to be able to see it. And if you've got a freight yard up here, you're cutting into the freight yard to see an underground station. So if we can move the underground station this way, over here, more or less where these lines are now, or as close to them as possible. The names, well, you've got Den Crosses are sort of to my right. That's over there. The back scene, if those tracks start coming this way a little earlier, you can actually sneak in a street back there. So all of that would become the new Den Cross Town, or Den Town, or Denton, I suppose. We'll see. I haven't got names for that yet. But that's what I'm up to today. So rearranging the underground station. See, while you weren't looking, a nice cup of tea arrived. Now then, another solution would be to bring those rails this way, so moving this one this way some, and just mirroring the tracks below, which I don't mind either. That then they're very visible. Do need then retention walls, so I don't know what we would do there. Bringing that rail parallel with this. So now we're squeezing the freight yard up here, but there's still room for it. Remembering that that's the outside track, so the other one will be right here. We can go over the top of that quite happily. And now we're heading into that corner. So from where, at that point, you've now lost any ability to put anything that way. I did have a thought about, well, why don't I bring the freight yard in that end and out the other end, as well as out the other end and around. But it's always tempting to start adding stuff and make it more complicated than the original intent. I'm not sure if you're following. So the freight yard then, ultimately, the freight yard's very simple. Those are not the pieces of track we're using, but essentially what happens is trains coming from that end come into the freight yard by crossing over into a buildings that used to be a station, which is why you've got the facing points. Freight yard happens up here. There will be some more space because those tracks will have moved over here. Does its thing, and then when trains go back out again, single slip, off they go on that track. So they go off, and that leads to a reversing loop up there, and back they come into the freight yard. So it's an out and back layout. The most popular video I ever made was me sitting at a desk talking about, was my layout a end-to-end or tail chaser? I thought I was just describing my layout, and then 20,000 viewers later, you think, what? So you could say this video is sort of kinda an addendum to that, in that the underground lines work as an end-to-end. They go from here, or wherever that ends up, over that way into the village station, so one end to the other, and work in shuttle form. So that's end to end. The big station sits in a form of tail chaser because it's a folded dog bone, which includes the upper levels. You have several shuttles running, so they run from those platforms over to where the Gronk is hiding out and back again. You have another fiddle yard in that direction. So there's 3 trains hiding in that tunnel that allow that shuttle look to continue. So you've got end to end in several places. And what we're adding is an out and back, using out that way, back this way, by going around the reversing loop, or one of the 2 reversing loops up there. Every now and again you get comments and questions. While I'm up here, somebody asked, well, what are you going to land on that short runway then? It's a model, just stop it. But the story is the runway used to go much further, and it was cut off by the railway. This line used to feed it. After beaching, that line was lifted. Look, I modelled a lifted line. And it used to feed the airport over there. It's where the line stops. But since then has been extended, so cutting off this part of the runway. It's a model, just stop. But I did measure it, and I've got the numbers here. The current runway is a couple of 100 feet long. I did look it all up, a couple of 100 scale feet. It's just long enough for the minimum distances for a Spitfire. And besides, there's grass there, and Spitfires would land anywhere. But yeah, little planes can land on it still. But these days it's used for filming, which is why there's a film crew there. That's all. Stop it. In an ideal world, I won't move the points, because that just adds to the complexity of drilling and moving the point motors and all that good stuff that are underneath and wired in. There's only the 2. There's one here and one over there that are currently in use. The one that was there that gave the extra siding is gone. That siding could almost stay there, couldn't it? I don't mind that. With this, that's like rock solid. That's going to be interesting getting that out of the way. That 3rd radius is right over the track there. It would not be difficult at all to move those back and get them swung earlier. But you can see where it ends up. So it'd be very easy to bring the underground lines over there. One thing I do intend to do is at the end of the track, instead of having the wall, have a tunnel that the trains are running into, and a fake 2-aspect light. Now, why would I put a fake signal at the end of the underground line? Well, the one that does work over here, this one, has been so very useful. Where it's really shone is that I know that if a train's going that way, it's not going to crash into anything because there's a green light. Means the points are all set in its favour. So if you have a fake tunnel or a bridge or whatever, as indicated by the Hornby box, and you put a signal beside the train there that just gives red-green, if it's green, you know that train can go, I mean, it's going to go backwards. Of course it is. There's a wall in front. But it just means that the point is set behind it. And that would be interesting because it would add a little bit of play value, because it would give a signal that would change when the point way back down the track were set for a train that was coming into the station or something. Well, the next question is, how are we going to do all of that in one day? We're not. So how are we going to keep the trains running? Well, we're not going to touch it. What we're going to do is we're going to build this off-site. So we'll decide what we want to do. We'll move the tracks for the underground train, for sure, to where we think we need them. We need to be sure first. Then we'll relay those. So the layout will still run with those being moved. But then what we'll do is we'll measure carefully and build a baseboard on the floor or on the workbench. And then just one day we'll cut things, lay it in, connect it up, and we'll be done. So yes, I do intend to keep the trains running. I can't bear to have a layout that doesn't work. So now that I got it working, let's keep it working. Next thing, point motors. Now, I've used these all over the layout. I've had absolutely no trouble with them. Look how big they are. The only issues I've had is getting them to fit into spaces. They seem to stay where they're put, and they work just fine. They make a bit of a racket. But and I've thought about it. I could probably adapt these to work that way up beside the track. But why do that when there are other versions of point motors that would be similarly priced or less and would be surface mount? Now, why do I need surface mount? Almost anywhere I put one of these, it's going to run into something. And I've got away with it elsewhere with clever planning. But I kind of don't want to be working on both sides of the board. As far as is possible, I want everything up on top of the new board. So we're going to be trying to build the baseboard upside down with track. So that's the plan. I'm sure somebody's done it before and it's failed, or somebody's done it before and will show me where the video is and I'll have a look and copy them. But in general, I want it face up so that I can wire it without doing a acrobatic show. I can show you what I'm doing with the wiring, and then we'll cover it all up in some way. Now then, what I'm not going to do is lay cables everywhere, then just pour ballast over them. I wondered about that spongy stuff. I didn't put anything under these rails, of course. I'm straight onto the baseboard again, but it's worked for every other piece of the baseboard except the upper level. That's been a bit of an issue. So that corner is where I've had issues. Now, one of the channel's good friends suggested that I could actually have reused that big pile of ballast. Yeah, there's a return on investment of time as much as anything. It would have taken a while, lay it all out, wash it, sieve out the glue, wash it again, lay it out and dry it, and then you can reuse it. I could have. But a packet of that stuff, I didn't use more than a packet, and a packet of that stuff's about $3 or £2.50 or something. So, no. It's in the bin, it's staying there. Could have used it for wagon loads or something, but there's more than enough other things to be getting on with, especially as I only spend about an hour a day down here. Now, I've been waffling on for about 3/4 of an hour. No, I've been, this is the whole length of this video. Not a single train has moved. That's not good. So we'll get a couple of trains running. There's plenty to think about there. So we're getting back into what next. I'm going to move the underground lines today. It may make it into another video, but I think it's more important that you see some trains running, isn't it? Yeah, of course it is. And I want those underground trains out of there before I start working. I made the mistake of not doing that and paid the price. So yeah, let's get the layout fired up and start moving some trains around, shall we? Oh, I nearly forgot. There's a young lad that loves watching the program and wondered why I'd lifted the ballast. Well, here's why. Ballast is lovely and it holds everything in place, but now the curves are different. And so the track isn't where it was before. See, it was here. Can you see where the track was? And so now the ballast would be in the wrong place. So we have to take it up so that we can make these curves less sharp. And there were no tracks over here. The tracks were over here. You can still see where the sleepers were. You see there? Along there. And so that's why. And since we're talking about this new curve, a number of you have suggested I use, is it AnyRail or a couple of other software programs that would help me design that. They would help. But here's the thing, look at it. So this starts off at greater than third radius, so probably 3.5 or something like that. And then eases, as you see, it's going over that way, and then really eases. And then this is not straight. It's a nice gentle curve to match up with that one, and then that curve picks up again at third radius. You see that? And then eases again. And the outside is more than fourth. And so it's a very complex curve. How you would do that, I'm sure the programs could do it, but how you transfer it from one to the other without printing one to one, I don't know. And you saw the way I did it. If you didn't, you can go back and look at the last couple of videos. But it really did work well, didn't it? I mean, that curve is lovely. So yeah, don't fix it, it isn't broken. The other thing is wallpaper scrapers. We don't have wallpaper, so I haven't got a wallpaper scraper, but I do have a putty knife, which I usually use and could not find. The scratches here, nothing to do with knives. That's because there was plaster under there. That's going to be a real mess to get it up, isn't it, Frank? And while you're asking me, I ain't doing it. It's going to be a tough job to get that plaster off the board. So we really do have trains stacked up all over the place. There's 3 underground trains there that need to get onto the branch line. They can't because there is a 4 EMU with a sardine special in front of it. It can't go anywhere because there are 3 trains in the station. So they can't go anywhere because every road in the station is full. I'll have a look at the computer, which for once in a week hasn't shut down. And all that tells me is I've just got too many trains on the layout. But we will move stuff around and make it work. All right, so the first thing is let's run something, just anything to see if it works. I'm keeping one eye on the other end of the layout in case I've left something on the tracks. I did check. We don't have a name for the branch station yet. Den Cross being the name of the layout and the name of the big station. We'll think of something. I'm not in a hurry. So there's one. We'll let it get back where it's supposed to be. I was about to throw that away as a piece of dirt. I thought, it isn't, it's a dog. So we'll put him where I can see him. Little dog there. He's having a sleepy. I'm still surprised at how well this bark hill has worked out. I haven't finished it off, and the reason why is I want it to dry out thoroughly before I do. It never gets old watching these trains run themselves when you can have a look around and do something else while they're doing their thing. I do need to find out why it stops before it pulls all the way in. But yeah, lovely. Working. Somebody was having a chuckle at me saying the train had learned some manners. Well, that's really what it is, stopping where it's supposed to and doing it gently. Yeah, that's manners. Now then, how are we going to empty this lot out? Well, the first thing I think is put the gronk in the fiddle yard. It's never been there, so I'm going to be a bit cautious. It's never done it, but it's going to do it confidently. Are you still in the back of that train? Help, help, let me out. Try as I might, I can't see that train at all. I know that it hasn't reached the point, which would be the crunch point, pun intended. But this end of it, I don't know. Oh, there it is, I can see. Well, it's safe at this end. It's safe at the other end. Yeah, we're good. Okay, it can sit there. That's one of the other jobs, is to get some of those cheap and nasty CCTV cameras, which I have put in there so we can see where things are. So that gives us one road in the platform that will be empty, and I'm going to need quite a few trains stacked today. Well, here comes the first of the trains to be stabled, as it were. What I shall do is cheat and drive it out onto the road there with the cliff face and park it there. Come on, you can do this. Stop with your nonsense. Now that one hasn't run for a long time. It has stopped on our new curve because it thinks there's another train in front of it. There isn't. But the reason it thinks that is because that one I shunted off of the track it's going to go to hasn't gone far enough, I don't think. It's one of those quirks of programming. It says blue-grey 4 EMU quiet. That's the one without sound, and it's blue-grey. But when I pull its small box up, it says blue. And so I've been driving the wrong train. Poor thing. I must put grey blue instead of blue grey. You're struggling. I need to run these trains more often. I know. Oh, I do like the look of that. All very pretty from down there, but from up here we've got a little issue. We've got to be able to move it. It doesn't want to know. I need to start linking them together and creating multiple units. Yeah, I'd forgotten about this one. It has to have the brakes turned off before it will go. And there it flies. Can you hear it? I don't know if you heard that, but the compressor was running. The sound has decided it's going to start working again on that one. You can go now. Here we go. One of the few times you're going to see underground models running on 4-rail track. There it is. Lovely. And it's playing with beautiful manners. It hasn't run for weeks and still comes out and stops. Just a few sleepers. Was that 3 sleepers from the buffers? Nice job. You see these before they get here because of the lights. See that? Lovely. Not going to get much done today, I can see that. Yeah. And finally, this one doesn't get to go very far at all. It just zips into the tunnel. And it can park in there. It might stick its nose out. It has just stuck its nose out. There we are. So that leaves us nice and clear. Nothing down here. No room for splatter. I'll leave Frank down here to clean up. I can move the station. Got nothing at this end of the board, and so we'll be in great shape. Some of you are complaining that it's taking too long. Hey, it's a hobby that does take long. I put a video up every 2 days or something like that. At the moment, it's every other day. And I'm down here. I've been down here for... I had to stop and check. But I've been down here for just about an hour. And it's taken me all that time to have a little think, get everything cleared out. I'm going to get the track power turned off and then start moving these around. But to do that, I'm going to have to chonk this out. There was somebody that said that they really enjoyed looking at the real-time modeling that I'm doing. Well, all I'm doing is doing it and letting you see what I do. So if it's helpful, I really... I'm happy about that. If it's not helpful, not sure what to do about that. You can fast forward to the end to see how I get on. But in the next video, then we will move those lines. This is going to be the next project. I want to keep it propped up just a little bit. It's going to take me a minute, I think, because that is quite solid. Yeah. But moving, I've really got to nail down the track plan, pun intended. I don't use nails, you know that. But move the rails over so that we can get the good yard in. That's it for this time. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you all. You know there's another video coming up there, don't you? Of course you do by now. and the subscribe button's there if you haven't done that already. Thanks very much. See you next time.